Hello there, guys, and welcome back to That Anxious Gamer. Today, we're going to be doing a Mechabellum Tier List. Right now, we are on patch 0.7.13, and the date is July the 19th, 2023, just to give you an instance of when this tier list is being made. So let's get right into it and go through each unit and what I think about it. So right now, let's start with the furthest left. So we're going to start with the Arclight. Arclight, I would probably put in A tier. Why is the Arclight in A tier? I thought at first this unit wasn't very good, but the more I play, the more I think it's very good. The reasoning is because a lot of its upgrades actually substantially change how the unit can function. So you have anti-air. You actually have a upgrade that can give you anti-air capability. It's extremely good against crawlers defaultly. It's not so good against sledges and steel balls immediately, but if you get its charged shot, which gives you 200% attack, it starts to do very well in the sledges, and even somewhat in the steel balls. But just the ability to cut down on Fang spam, on crawler spam, makes me think that the Arclight deserves at least A, because other than the Vulcan, which you can't really get at the beginning of the game unless you go all in on like a giant strat, the Arclight is a cheap, effective way to counter just mass unit spam. So, for that reason, I'm going to put it in A tier. That's why I think it belongs. Steel Ball, S tier. S tier and Steel Ball. I don't even know if this needs much explanation with the Steel Stang strats that are really dominating right now. The only real disadvantage, guys, to Steel Ball is air. If you don't build air, and I guess you could say maybe Stormcaller would be the only other thing that could really directly counter it. Steel balls are just incredibly good, guys. The upgrades are incredibly good. You have an upgrade to actually change HP, like damage to HP. You have an upgrade to share the damage between the steel balls. All of the upgrades are really good, and you're going to notice that a lot on the S tier units. It's either S tier is generally reserved, in my opinion, for one of two things. Either not many units can either hit it or counter it, or B, the upgrades are just so good that it makes it S tier just in of itself. And I'm going to be doing a separate list for all the upgrades and what I think about them. But for right now, we're just going for units. So Steel Ball, unless they go air, S tier. If they go air, then obviously it can't hit air, so it's going to be much worse. But overall, still an S tier unit. What do I think about the Crawler? I'm going to put the Crawler in B tier, guys. I'm going to put the Crawler in B tier. Now, this may be controversial. A lot of people might think it's better than B tier. With like acidic, it's got some really good upgrades, guys. It's got upgrades that increase its attack speed. It's got upgrades that make it move faster. It's got upgrades that basically make it like a StarCraft 2 bailing. Why is it in B tier? The reason it's in B tier, guys, is because of the Vulcan. You just have units that so hard counter this unit that ultimately I can't really see putting it above B tier when you have a unit that's pretty easy to get that directly counters it. And with the Arclight, you have units that counter it from turn 1. So because of all those factors, even though I think the Crawler is good, I think it needs a few more buffs to really make crawler spam or just a crawler only strategy work out. Also, it can't hit air. And for that simple fact, I think it can't really be an S tier unless it dominated everything on the ground, which it does not, because as we just talked about, the Arclight and the Vulcan just directly counter it. So I would say let's keep the Crawler in B tier for now, unfortunately. What about the Fang? I think the Fang is an S tier. Why is the Fang an S tier? Well, because let's talk about what it can do. We have abilities to give it a shield. We have abilities to increase its damage. We have abilities to increase its range. Even though the Fang is the most humble unit in turn 1, if you get a Fang up to like level 5 by the end of the game and just continuously getting it better and better and better and upgrading it, you'll see this is like Stim Bio at 3-3. For those of you who play StarCraft, a Marine without Stim, without any upgrades, not very good. A 3-3 Marine with Stim and combat shield, incredibly strong, guys. And this is the same thing with the Fang. The other great thing about the Fang, it goes right there along with the Hacker. It's a perfect combination. Even I believe the number one rated player on NA said that you can basically just by spamming Fang Hacker. Sorry guys, my words got mixed up there. You can get to 2,000 MMR right now. So yeah, Fang basically can shoot anything. It is vulnerable to arc lights and it is vulnerable to Vulcans, but because it has a bit better range, unlike the Caller, it's in pure melee range. The Fang can actually hit from range. I think that for the most massable unit, the Fang is the best unit. So I'm putting the Fang in S tier. It also counters air, so yes, S tier for the Fang. What about what do we got here? What is this unit again? God, I always forget this unit. The Fortress. Oh God, guys. Oh God. I'm gonna have to put the Fortress in C tier. I think me not remembering the name right offhand tells you about how this unit is niche. It is, guys. It is like 5 a.m. in the morning, so I'm sorry for forgetting the name for a minute. That wasn't done from dramatic effect. That was actually real. The Fortress just is a niche unit. It is good against certain other giants. It does have barrier, but oftentimes in the course of a game, you can actually get a barrier shield just from like the ability cards and then put it on other units. So its primary ability of being able to put a barrier up is oftentimes able to be swapped onto other units anyway. So I think the Fortress is limited. It's got the anti-air barrage, so it can be very good if your opponent's going pure air strats. Then I think the Fortress can have some utility. I played around with it, guys. I played around with the Fortress. I've tried to use the Fortress. I haven't had that much luck with the Fortress. I'm going to put it in C tier. I don't think it's very good. This is the weirdest unit card. I know this is the Hacker. I know there's nothing else it could be, but the unit card looks nothing like the Hacker in game. So super weird unit card. What do I think about the Hacker? It's an A tier, guys. It's used with certain compositions sort of on S tier, just like the Fang. Hacker, very, very good unit. I mean, in the late game, especially once you get upgrades, the problem about the Hacker that makes it not an S tier unit is it's trash in the early game. It needs other units to make it work. And most importantly, it needs upgrades for it to be any good. So I think that keeps it out of S tier. But just for its ability to steal some of your opponent's most valuable units, I don't think putting it anything under A tier makes any sense at all. So the Hacker is going into A tier. What do I think about Marksman? Marksman's weird, guys. Marksman, this is probably going to be one of the most debatable choices on the list. I'm going to put Marksman in B tier. And the reason I'm going to put Marksman in B tier is because the Phoenix exists. If the Phoenix didn't exist, I would put Marksman in A tier. Marksmen need a lot of support. They need a front line. They need a lot of chafe in front of them. They need some meat in order to do their job. But they have incredible abilities. They have range increases. They have elite marksmen, which give them extra range plus extra damage. They have the ability, they can have an upgrade to make them shoot faster. Marksman, guys, very, very good unit. It's just situational, and you can't mass them. Like going 4 marksmen, 5 marksmen can be really good, but if you get like 10 marksmen, you're not going to have enough beef in front, and your opponent's just going to swarm you with just simple crawlers and win the game. So it can be very, very good, but marksmen are super situational. And because of that, I can't really put them higher than B tier. Melting Point, C tier, immediately into C tier. The reason that I would put Melting Point in the C tier is because Melting Point only really counters other giants. It's very specific. It has a niche. But the problem about that is that it doesn't really have that much utility unless your opponent is massing giants. So it has a very strong, specific purpose. It does its job. All its upgrades are basically helping to do its job, but it's very limited to what it can actually do. And because of that, I don't think putting in anything above C makes a lot of sense. So let's move on to the next unit. Mustang, S tier. Guys, the Mustang is one of the stupidest units in the game. Probably one of the only units I think absolutely needs enough. Why is the Mustang so good? It's got missile interceptor. It's one of the only units that can combat the Stormcaller, which we'll get to in just a minute. So yeah, so it's got it's got missile interceptor. It's massable. You can mass the unit. It does good against most non-armor, non-heavily upgraded units. Really, guys, and I'm going to be talking about this in the unit abilities section. Getting like the armor upgrade. A lot of units have like a armor enhancement upgrade that blocks a certain amount of damage, and if it's below that, it doesn't take damage. That is one of the best units, best abilities against Mustangs, because Mustangs are kind of like Stem Bio. They put out a lot of little small bits of damage that mount up. The problem about Mustangs is that they directly help the Steel Ball. So the Steel Ball and the Mustang may be like an A tier, but together they're like actually in like S plus tier. So maybe for the next tier list, I'll actually make an OP tier. But I don't believe either of these two units is OP. It's just the combination is very strong. Mustangs have amazing anti-air ability. So just by putting them on the field in rounds, let's say 1 to 3, you really combat any idea of an air switch in the later part of the game. So you keep the combat on the ground. Mustangs just have a lot of upgrades, guys. Even some of the upgrades I don't even know about. Like, I haven't even used all the upgrades, but just for Missile Interceptor, that would put it probably in high A or S tier by itself, because it's one of the only units that can really combat the Stormcaller, which may be the strongest unit in the game. So I'm going to put Mustang in S tier just for its versatility. What do I think about the Overlord? D tier, guys. Overlord is good. Here's the problem with the Overlord. The Overlord is a switch unit or a win more unit. So it's good if you're going ground, they don't have any anti-air, and then you switch into the Overlord. It can be very good. It can also be very good if you're in a situation where like they don't know how to counter it. You're giving it the ability to make Wasp. It can be good in all these scenarios, but you can't buy it early. It's useless by itself because it'll get targeted down very, very quickly by Phoenix and Marksman. And it's very niche. And a lot of times you're already winning, and then you make the Overlord, and then you win harder. So because of that, I wouldn't say this is a great unit. I think the Overlord is probably one of the weaker units in the whole game. What about the Phoenix? Phoenix, S tier, guys. Phoenix is so good. It's basically, the reason we put the Marksman in B was because Phoenix was going to be in either A or S. And guys, the more I think about it, the more I think that Phoenix deserves to be an S tier. Because the thing about the Phoenix is it's got all the abilities. The quantum reassembly, where your Phoenixes make more Phoenixes, regenerate units. You got the free unit card, okay? In almost any auto battler, RTS, anything like that, free units are always king, guys. They're always king. Now, people will be saying, but the caller has replicate. That's true, guys. But the thing is, the Phoenix can hit auto air and also on the ground, plus has range where this is a melee unit. So because of that, the Phoenix is king, guys. It's probably the best sniper unit in the game. Every time I make Marksman, after a while, I think to myself, I should have just made Phoenix. They're even better. So because of that, guys, it's just a Marksman, but more OP, and a lot of units can't even hit air. So the Phoenix, unless they're massing Mustangs or other very specific air counters, getting more Phoenix almost always helps you and almost never hurts you. What do I think about the Rhino? A tier. Rhino, guys, is amazing. You have the Rhino flanks. All of its abilities are really cool. You can get it to be immune to stun. You can get it to Whirlwind, where it's basically really good against crawlers, even though it's super good against heavy units, and it can also be good if you get an upgrade against light units. It's so good, guys. The Rhino is so fundamentally good. So why is it not an S tier? The reason it's not an S tier is if they know it's coming and they know where the Rhino is, it's very easy to counter. You have the Melting Point that can do very well against it. You have the Marksman that can do very well against it. And you have the S tier Phoenix that obliterates it. So because of these things, you have 3 units that all generally see usage, but mainly the Phoenix and the Marksman, not so much the Melting Point. Because you have these units that directly counter it, and they're used almost every game, the Rhino's place in the game, it tends to be one of those things that you drop it around round 3 and it has a big impact for 2 rounds. But then the thing is about it, you need to win with the Rhino because it gets outscaled. And then in the later part of the game, it's got a lot of weaknesses, guys. Hackers also steal Rhinos very quickly. So that's another big problem. That's one of the reasons that I also put Marksman. I forgot to mention it, but I want to note it now. So because hackers can't hit air, Phoenixes are going to be immune to hackers, but Marksmen are not. And Marksmen are stolen so quickly by hackers, guys. So that's another reason that I would say hacker is, the hacker unit is another reason why Phoenix is much superior to Marksman, even though I like both units. Sledgies, E tier. Why are you building this unit? It makes no sense. Sledgies are a terrible unit. I want to see the sledge. I want to see the sledged buff big time. I think the sledge is one of the most underutilized units in the game. The only really way the sledge works is if you combine it with other units, which isn't saying much. That's like saying, this food is bad, but if you put it with other foods that are good, then it becomes somewhat palatable. Okay, that's something, but guys, that's not saying much for a unit. Do not build the sledgy in this patch. There's no reason to build it. I think it's a terrible unit. I want it to be good. Please make the sledgy great again. It's terrible right now. Wasp. Situational. And I realized I actually skipped over to the right. Sorry about that, guys. But anyway, let's talk about the Wasp right now. Wasp are good, guys. Wasp flanks can be good. Sometimes you get unit cards that give you Wasp. Sometimes with air armies like Phoenixes and Overlords, you can put Wasp in there to kind of be kind of an air chafe kind of situation. They're just kind of an air fodder unit. But that's all they really are. They're not like Fangs. You're not going to see like highly upgraded Wasp that are just wrecking games. Generally, the Wasp are just there to protect the more valuable unit. They're not bad. They're kind of like the Fang, but they're worse than the Fang. So, it's just hard for me to put this unit too high. I like it. It has ground specialization. It does have several cool little unit abilities. Like you can get one that allows you to reposition it, which is really cool. So you can make some tricky plays. You can make some really cool plays with it. But that's about all I can say about the Wasp. I can't really put it higher than C tier. Maybe with a small buff, it could go into B tier. I don't see the Wasp ever being a meta unit, unfortunately. But I like it. But I don't feel like it's a meta unit. What about the Vulcan? Vulcan is, I would say, strongly in A tier. So why is the Vulcan in A tier? Well, because it counters the Caller, guys. If you didn't have the Vulcan in the game, the Caller would be really crazy strong. The Vulcan, it's good against Mustangs. It's good against, if you get its Scorching Flame, so if you get 125% attack and range on the Vulcan and just start leveling it, this unit is nuts, dude. One of the reasons in this current patch, this very latest patch, they increased the amount of XP you need for the Vulcan to go from level 1 to level 2. That's because if you can get like an elite Vulcan, or you can get a situation where you get a Vulcan a level ahead of your opponent, guys, it can melt almost anything. With Scorching Flame, it does good into steel balls. It does really good in the Mustangs. It obliterates Fangs. It just does good into almost anything, guys, on the ground. Why is it not an S tier unit? Because the Phoenix exists, and because the Marksman exists, and because the Melting Point exists. So it has 3 strong counters, and 2 of these counters are used in almost every game. You almost always will see an opponent with either, they're going to have 1 of 3 units. They're going to have either the Phoenix, they're going to have the Marksman, or they're going to have the Melting Point. And because of this, the Vulcan's lifespan is just there to kind of cut all of the simple fodder units in the front. So it does its job. It's an amazing unit. It definitely deserves A tier, but I just can't see it hit S tier quite yet. But maybe one day, maybe with a patch, who knows? But it seems like they're nerfing the Vulcan, not actually enhancing the Vulcan. In the right unit composition, I could even see somebody saying it's S tier, but again, it doesn't hit air. I think all of these S tier units have a little bit something extra, so I cannot see putting it into S tier, but it is an amazing unit. Stormcaller. Well, guys, this, if I could, I think, let's see, I don't even know if I can, if I knew more, I could actually just create another tier. And this tier would be absolutely insanely OP tier, and then the Stormcaller would be number 1. So let me actually move this. So we're gonna move Steel Ball over here. Stormcaller is in the front of S tier, and that the reason is because it's like S plus 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 tier. Guys, the Stormcaller, I don't know what I just did there to the tier list. Okay, that was weird. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. But Stormcaller, unbelievable. Right there at the end of the tier list anyway. Somehow I messed this up. I don't know what I did. I'm not great with this tier maker website yet. But guys, Stormcaller is the best unit in the game right now. Why? It has a range upgrade. It has a basically like an Incinerate Bomb upgrade. The Incinerate Bomb upgrade makes it so good. It's every ground unit. Like, if you're stepping into flames, the Mustangs get wrecked. Fangs get wrecked. Steel balls even take huge amounts of damage. Stormcaller meta, there's a reason almost everybody on the Mechabellum Reddit and Discord, almost everybody's complaining about the Stormcaller. Really, you must get air, guys. You must have the Phoenix. That's one of the reasons why Phoenix is S tier. Because if you did not have the Phoenix in the game, you would probably see the Stormcaller be used in every single game ever. It beats the Marksman. It beats pretty much everything on the ground. And if you have enough of them, it just makes advancing into a position almost impossible, guys. Like, all you need is a little bit of ground fodder in front of it, and it's just an insane unit. It's just ridiculous. The only disadvantage of the Stormcaller is, I would say, a little bit of overkill. You can put it into like vertical formations that are horizontal. A lot of people are doing that to limit some of the overkill. But guys, it doesn't matter. The Stormcaller is so damn good. It's S plus tier. It's S tier. Amazing. They need to nerf this unit or change the interaction because it does dictate way too many games just by itself. I do like the unit, but it is a kind of non-interactive strategy, and a lot of times both sides are building Stormcallers, and then it kind of becomes a Phoenix War or an Air War because of that. Yeah, so I hope you guys like this tier list. I try to keep it somewhat short, but I wanted to explain every unit, what I thought about it, and why I thought that. So yeah, really hope you like this. Leave in the comments below what your thoughts are. Tell me, hey, I think you made this totally wrong, and here's the reason why about this unit. I'd love to hear feedback, guys. Definitely stay tuned. Hit that like button, hit that sub button, and I will see you guys in the next video.